intelligences. And people who work in the field of artificial intelligence sometimes take occasion to tell me that they think the 3 laws will serve as a good guide. We can go even beyond that. When I wrote my robot stories, I had no thought that robots would come into existence in my lifetime. In fact, I was certain they would not, and would have wagered vast sums that they would not. At least, I would have wagered 15 cents, which is my betting limit on sure things. Yet here I am, 43 years after I wrote my first robot story, and we do have robots. Indeed, we do. What's more, they are what I envisage them to be, in a way, industrial robots, created by engineers to do specific jobs and with safety features built in. They are to be found in numerous factories, particularly in Japan, where there are automobile factories that are entirely roboticized. The assembly line in such places is manned by robots at every stage. To be sure, these robots are not as intelligent as my robots are. They are not positronic. They are not even humanoid. However, they are evolving rapidly and becoming steadily more capable and versatile. Who knows where they'll be in another 40 years? One thing we can be sure of. Robots are changing the world and driving it in directions we cannot clearly foresee. Where are these robots in reality coming from? The most important single source is a firm called Unimation Incorporated of Danbury, Connecticut. It is the leading manufacturer of industrial robots and is responsible for perhaps 1/3 of all robots that have been installed. The president of the firm is Joseph F. Engelberger, who founded it in the late 1950s because he was so interested in robots that he decided to make their production his life work. But how in the world did he become so interested in robots so early in the game? According to his own words, he grew interested in robots in the 1940s when he was a physics major undergraduate at Columbia University, reading the robot stories of his fellow Columbian, Isaac Asimov. My goodness. You know, I didn't write my robot stories with much in the way of ambition back in those old days. All I wanted was to sell them to the magazines in order to earn a few $100s to help pay my college tuition, and to see my name in print besides. If I had been writing in any other field of literature, that's all I would have attained. But because I was writing science fiction, and only because I was writing science fiction, I, without knowing it, was starting a chain of events that is changing the face of the world. Joseph F. Engelberger, by the way, published a book in 1980 called Robotics in Practice, Management and Application of Industrial Robots, American Management Associations, and he was kind enough to invite me to write the foreword. All this set the nice people at Doubleday to thinking. My various robot short stories have appeared in no less than 7 different collections of mine. Why should they be so separated? Since they appeared to be far more important than anyone dreamed they would be, least of all I, at the time they were written, why not pull them together in a single book? It wasn't hard to get me to agree, so here are 31 short stories, totaling some 200,000 words, written over a time period stretching from 1939 to 1977. Part 1. Some non-human robots. I am not having the robot stories appear in the order in which they were written. Rather, I am grouping them by the nature of the contents. In this first division, for instance, I deal with robots that have a non-human shape. A dog, an automobile, a box. Why not? The industrial robots that have come into existence in reality are non-human in appearance. The very first story, A Boy's Best Friend, is not in any of my earlier collections. It was written on September 10, 1974, and you may